The Procrastinator and the Doubter. Breaking Free from Self-Sabotage. The Procrastinator and the Doubter. Written by Iyabo Bello. Powered by Mercy. Elroy. Voiced by Joanne. Introduction. The journey begins. Hello, dear reader. I'm Iyabo Bello, and I want to take you on a journey. A journey that starts at Johannesburg Airport, fresh off a flight from the UK, and dives deep into one of the most common yet misunderstood struggles we all face: the battle between procrastination and self-doubt. It was 11 a.m. in South Africa when I had this revelation. As I sat waiting for my next flight, reflecting on life's twists and turns, I realized something profound. I've spent years believing I had a procrastination problem when, in fact, I was struggling with something deeper: self-doubt. This book is not just about my story. It's about yours. It's about understanding the root of why we hesitate, why we stall, and how to break free from the cycle that holds us back. It's about life's journey, its twists, its stumbles, and how every setback holds a lesson. Reflection. Exercise. Think of a defining moment in your life where you hesitated. Was it procrastination or self-doubt that held you back? Chapter 1. The Illusion of Procrastination. We often label ourselves procrastinators. It's easy, it's relatable, and it gives us a pass. But what if procrastination isn't the real issue? I used to think I was just lazy or distracted. I'd create endless to-do lists, set ambitious goals, and then watch them collect dust. But then I asked myself a simple question: am I really lazy, or am I afraid? Fear hides behind excuses. It whispers doubts like, what if you're not good enough? Or, what if you fail? And here's the hard truth: procrastination is often just the surface symptom. The deeper issue? Doubt. Life lesson. Every time you procrastinate, pause and ask, what am I really afraid of? It's often not about time or energy. It's about fear of failure, rejection, or imperfection. Reflection. Exercise. Think of a recent task you avoided. Now ask yourself, was it truly about time, or was there fear underneath? Story time. When I was in my early 20s, I dreamed of starting my own business. I had the plan, the resources, but not the belief. For years I put it off, not because I didn't have time, but because I didn't believe I could succeed. It took a major life event, becoming a mother, to push me out of that shell. Suddenly, failure wasn't my biggest fear. Letting my daughter down was. Chapter 2. The Comfort Zone. Trap. We talk about comfort zones like they're cozy blankets, but what if they're actually cages? For years, I stayed in my so-called comfort zone, avoiding risks, dodging big decisions, and convincing myself that safety was better than growth. But comfort zones aren't built from peace. They're often built from fear. When I decided to travel to South Africa, it wasn't just a vacation. It was a declaration, a step out of my cage. It was me saying, I'm done living small. Journal. Prompt. Write about your comfort zone. What keeps you there? What's the worst that could happen if you stepped out? Deep dive. Our comfort zones are often defined by our past traumas and failures. Reflect on a time you tried and failed. How did that experience shape your current comfort zone? Real-life example. During my early days in London, I avoided networking events. The idea of pitching my ideas, putting myself out there, it terrified me. I convinced myself I wasn't a networking person. But the truth? I was scared of rejection. Chapter 3. The Doubter. Within self-doubt is a master of disguise. It can look like perfectionism, procrastination, or even humility. But its goal is always the same: to keep you stuck. I've started businesses, launched projects, and made big life changes, but every single time, the doubter inside whispered, "Are you sure you can handle this?" And sometimes I listened, but not anymore. Exercise. List 5 dreams you've shelved. Beside each, write the doubt that held you back. Now, reframe each with a positive statement. Example: I'm not experienced enough. I can learn as I go. The doubter's language. I'm not ready yet. What if I fail? Others are better at this. Every time you hear these voices, recognize them for what they are: fear in disguise. Story. The first time I pitched IQK to potential investors, my hands were shaking. I doubted every word coming out of my mouth. But something amazing happened. They listened. They asked questions. I didn't get immediate funding, but I got validation. And that was enough to keep going. Chapter 4. Taking the first step progress. Doesn't come from massive leaps. It comes from small, consistent steps. My first step? Applying for a South African visa. It felt simple, but it was monumental. It was the physical act of telling my inner doubter, I'm doing this anyway. Action plan. Identify a big goal. Break it into the smallest possible first step. Schedule that step for today. Deep reflection. The first step isn't about external success. It's about building internal momentum. Think of it as telling your subconscious, mind, we're serious about this. Real life example. I once had a coaching client who dreamed of writing a book but hadn't written a single word in years. Her first step? Buying a notebook. That simple act broke the cycle of inaction. Chapter 5. Faith, failure, and moving forward. Faith has been my anchor. I told myself, if God wants this for me, it will happen. But faith without action is hollow. Failure isn't the end, it's feedback. The $10,000 I invested in starting IQK wasn't just money spent. It was a commitment to my dreams. Even if it failed, I'd rather fail forward than live in regret. Reflection. Think of a time you failed. What did it teach you? How did it shape who you are today? Spiritual insight. Faith isn't about the absence of fear. It's about moving forward despite it. Remember the story of Peter walking on water? The moment he doubted, he sank. But the initial step, that was pure faith. Personal story. There was a time when I almost quit IQK. The setbacks felt endless. Then one night, during a late call with my mentor, he said, "Iyabo, do you believe in the mission more than the obstacles?" That reframed everything for me. Chapter 6. Community and accountability. No journey is solo. Every step I took was supported by family, friends, mentors, and even strangers. Your community can be your lifeline. Find those who believe in your dreams, even when you doubt yourself. Exercise. List 5 people who uplift you. Reach out to one today and share your next big goal. Building your tribe. Find your cheerleaders, the ones who see potential even when you're blind to it. Avoid the dream killers, those who project their fears onto you. Story. My daughter has been one of my biggest inspirations. Every time I hesitated, I'd think of her watching me. What example did I want to set? That thought alone pushed me through my darkest days. Chapter 7. Breaking free and living. Boldly procrastination isn't about laziness. It's about fear. and the antidote to fear. Action. This book isn't just my story, it's your roadmap. Every page is a reminder that the biggest obstacles aren't external, they're internal. Action plan. Write down one big dream. Break it into 5 actionable steps. Share it with someone who will hold you accountable. Living boldly. The life you dream of is on the other side of your fear. Step through it. Conclusion. This is just the beginning. Johannesburg was more than a destination. It was a turning point. And this book is just the beginning of your turning point. You have dreams. You have purpose. And now, you have the tools to break free. So, what's your next step? Because it's waiting. Final reflection. What's the one thing you can do today that your future self will thank you for? Thank you for listening. I'm Iyabo Bello, and this is just the beginning of my story, and yours. Bonus. Chapter. Lessons from the Journey. How to turn failure into fuel-building resilience in the face of doubt. The power of micro wins and daily habits resources. Worksheets. For breaking down big goals, reflection exercises for overcoming self-doubt. A list of empowering books, podcasts, and TED Talks. Let's turn the page. Your next chapter awaits.